All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Emma Hutchinson Elementary GoTeam meeting, where we'll follow the agenda. It was previously emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the GoTeam. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public are here to quietly observe. However, this meeting, we do have comment from the public available. For members of the GoTeam, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Emma Hutchinson GoTeam to order at 5:03 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll, and our secretary, Ms. Lundy, will now take roll.
Good evening, everyone. Please say present when your name is called. Principal Melissa St. Joy.
Present.
Antonio Cousins. Erica Willis. Jalecia Edwards. Courtney Manning.
Present.
Akithia Atkinson.
Present.
Brenda Williams. Ms. Akaya Scott.
Present. The team will only, go ahead.
No, that's.
Did we get everyone?
Yes.
Okay. We will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Do we have a quorum present?
A quorum is not present.
Okay, so since we do not have a quorum present, we needed a majority of GoTeam members in attendance to vote on the agenda items. Having a quorum protects the school by preventing a very small number of members from taking action on behalf of the entire school. So because of that, as of that result, we will proceed with today's discussion and information items, and the action items will be tabled until we can further establish a quorum. So we will now move to the discussion items on our agenda, in which we'll be discussing the 2023 spring maps results. And I believe Principal St. Joy may have more for us there.
Yes, good afternoon. So I have prepared an agenda for today. Of course, this is our agenda as follows. And we will first get into our spring results and our fall to spring comparison. On these comparisons, you'll see the district trends versus Hutchinson's trends. So this is our overall map growth comparison. It shows from spring to fall. If you look at the top, it's where the district fell and where we fell. You can see that the trends are kind of similar. We did have an increase in the kids not meeting, and these are overall scores. We're going to break them down by subject areas to see how it looks. As well, Hutchinson does have more students performing in the distinguished area overall, slightly more than they did in the fall. In reading overall, we had 16%, roughly probably 17% of our students meeting or exceeding expectations. That increased, it looks like, to about 18% between the 16% proficient and this percentage right here would represent distinguished students. We still have 53% of our students that does not meet. I do want us to pay attention though. The number of students that tested did increase between the fall and the spring. So that could also possibly skew those numbers. So it's not, it is a representation of where our students were in the beginning to the end. However, it may not be all the same students that were there in the fall that are on the end, but this is our overall reading data. In mathematics, you can see that we have had a slight dip in our scores, but that's also falling in line with the district overall, that there has been a slight dip in math as the students have gotten up there, particularly with our fifth graders. Those are the students that were probably most deeply impacted by the pandemic, as we go on and if we unpack these by grade levels, you'll be able to see our third graders are actually performing very high, but those are the kids that have been in school the most amount of time as compared to the other kids. So those are the kids that are getting the majority of the interventions, the academic recovery. They're kind of why the intervention block was put into APS, but they are still demonstrating growth overall as a school. Again, we just looked at just the overall scores a little further on. After we look at these questions, we're supposed to do a needs assessment as a team. As I just pulled this initial data, I thought it was important to pull the domain information because right now it's just colors as far as proficient, distinguished, developing, and does not meet. But what does that actually mean in terms of what they did? So as we go through these domains, this is going to help myself and the leadership team with our continuous improvement plan over the summer. But these are the 4 questions as I go into the next slides that we're going to answer. And also what I will ask is once we open up the discussion, Ms. Lundy, if you would capture what we end up defining our 2 needs are, because there's a space in the PowerPoint for me to add that into the slide, but I'll go back and add it at the conclusion of the meeting. But the questions were, what does the data tell us? What good news is there to celebrate? Where are growth opportunities, and what trends do we see in the data? So the first thing I did was I pulled the domain data for the school. So when we look at that, does not mean developing, what does that actually mean? So overall as a school, this blue color means high. Hold on, let me make sure I'm coding it right. This blue color means high. This green color means high average. The yellow means average. The orange means low average, and the red means low. And please excuse me, I'm under the weather. But as we go through the independent domains, we can see where our students were successful, where they're demonstrating growth, and kind of where their needs are. So as we look at this and we're answering those questions, the team is welcome to unmute and, just say what they see as our opportunities for growth, celebration, and what do we need to pay attention to. Those of you that have sat in a meeting with me know what I feel we need to pay attention to, but I don't want to drive this discussion because it is the team. What do you see and what are your thoughts?
First,
1 second.
vocabulary is a high need, and I know you've discussed this with us. And then following that, we see informational and literature, literary text or literature. It's the next area of high need, but vocabulary definitely plays a great role in being able to tackle those.
And I stated to the teachers, I think if we close the vocabulary gap by ripple, it will also increase our students' proficient in informational text and literature simply because they would be more comfortable with the text because they could dissect the vocabulary. Any other thoughts anybody would like to share?
I would like to know if the parents, besides those students that may fall in the threshold as needing improvement, are parents, I guess, fully briefed, or is this information presented to them intentionally with
So-
some type of improvement plan?
So yes, the improvement plan is posted to our website where we're working. Parents are also shared with this. We send home the scores and what they mean every time the students test. We also invite them to our academic parent teacher teams night, where we kind of unpacked where their kids fall, where their kids should be. And I also do principal chat and shoes that parents are invited to. We try to do them 2 intentional times during the day, 10 in the morning and then 5 p.m. So that parents have access to that information. But parents do have access to the information, and teachers also communicate that to them. Wednesdays at our school have been stamped for teachers to practice, make phone calls, or have parent conferences and plan during that time. So the times have been available, and we have made that communication line open to parents.
Okay, and has there been any engagement from parents? Because just in looking at the scores, I know that to me, a teacher can't do it all. So I definitely see that it needs to be there's probably a gap to the at-home learning or at-home, I guess, academic stimulation. So I'm just wondering like how we can kind of bridge that, in order to see these impacts on these scores.
So I think the engagement, and teachers can kind of chime in. I think it's slowly increasing. I don't think we had very much engagement last year. To this year as a school, for our just under 300 students, it went from maybe a handful last year to roughly 65 each parent night we had. So although that's not the number that we want, it is a dramatic increase from the participation that we had this year. And that's just identifying stuff school-wide. Teachers, different teachers have relationships with their parents. So the teachers are also communicating with the parents.
Okay.
So it's slowly but surely increasing, and there is opportunities for us to increase it further, I think.
Okay. I
Any
guess the
other?
needs assessment would tell us more as well.
I think Miss Mannon, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I know I'm in a bad area. I'm not sure if you guys are able to hear me very well, but they seem to be making pretty good growth in the reading foundational skills area. And while that's true, there's still opportunity for improvement. So making sure that, they're able to decode and they have those, the decoding skills down pat so that when they, move to read the text, because looking at the informational and literature, understanding those type of texts, that seems to be a very high area of growth. So just making sure that I guess the focus should be as well, just making sure that they're able to code words and understand, to help understand more difficult text.
And Miss St. Joy, may you differentiate between reading literary and informational? Is that like it combined, or is that just reading ability there?
I would have to further clarify. Let me ponder a little bit. I don't want to misspeak.
Okay.
So give me a minute to ponder. Again, I'm not all processing right now, so please bear with me.
No, we understand.
So, and I think as we continue to grow, something that I unpack further, our kindergartners and our first graders, who are the kids that have been in school the longest, they're strong overall in several of the domains. So that's super exciting. And the continued conversation with us is how do we continue that? Currently, I know for fact that we have 19 kindergartners that are at the proficient range. How do we maintain that? And how do we continue that all the way through 5th grade with those kids? you know, because that would be very powerful. And how do you get the kids that are close to that proficiency range at that age strong and comfortable foundationally so that it continues up and we see these gaps close over time? So that is our reading domains. The next slide has our math. And you see where they are with mathematics by domain. And anybody is welcome to unmute and share their thoughts. I think something to celebrate is that overall, I do think we're doing a little bit more solid in math than we are in reading. But also, as we close the reading gaps, I think it will also affect the math positively because there is a little bit more reading in the mathematics as they get older.
Mhm.
Any thoughts? Anybody wants to unmute and share? Our number sense and operations is where we do our vertical alignment. If we look overall, that's where we are doing the strongest.
I was thinking also that it would be a great focus since it impacts other categories to continue to focus on improving numbers and operations.
I concur. I think there's just a lot of power in continuing our vertical alignment because we can see the movement in that number sense space. And something that's not captured here, I just left a principals meeting and there's now a right score dashboard and you can see the improvement overall that we've had as a school on narrative writing and where the kids are scoring. But that's also something that we continually, we paid a little bit closer attention to over the course of this year. And it's starting to reflect in the data. So I think that's something to celebrate as well. But these are kind of what those initial scores reflect by domain. So just continuing some of the practices we had. So based on what we've talked about, what I heard, and Miss Lundy, if you captured the specific points, like I said, I'll go back and put them in the slide. But I heard definitely vocabulary acquisition. I think I heard phonemic awareness from Miss Manning. I think I heard how do we increase parent communication and transparency from Miss Lescott. And I think I heard continuing with that vertical alignment piece. Specifically, we see it clearly in math, but still continuing with that so we can continue to see that incremental growth. That was 4 things I heard.
May you repeat the last, Miss St. Joy?
I said kind of continuing that work with the vertical alignment. So that would affect that NBT, the number sense and operations. And also it would have it would affect all these domains overall really for reading, but we know that vocabulary and acquisition has the possibility to have a ripple effect for our students.
Yeah.
Okay, just to review, that was vocabulary acquisition, phonemic awareness, increased parent communication, and continue work with vertical alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And then I think there was some discussion, or I remember there being discussion about implementing vocabulary, a school-wide vocabulary, program
Mhm.
to help boost vocabulary knowledge. So along with the vertical alignment, just implementing something that, each teacher could implement daily,
Yeah.
a focus, vocabulary focus.
I have talked with certain teachers, if, seeing if we can create something school-based over the summer, where we have just a 15-minute school-wide vocabulary block. We all kind of go through the same process, because the only way our kids are going to develop the vocabulary is through exposure and through reading. So we've talked about that. We've also looked into a school-wide writing program that we're looking into, just to get consistency, because right now it's kind of patchwork around our building. Everybody's kind of implementing it a little differently. And then you're seeing the effect of that in the upper grades. So how do we get consistent instruction in that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that would also, enrich the conversation in our vertical alignment meetings, because we're all looking at the same, thing, and we're using the same language. And so, yeah, I think it would help just to connect that a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think it's worth looking into. I don't know if anyone's familiar, and I think it's I only worked with it for about 2 years, and I think it's only geared to grades 3 through 5, but it's TCM, teacher created materials, and I believe it's building vocabulary from roots. And my previous district vocabulary was also pointed out as an area that we needed to work on. And we use this daily, really through tutorial, but it may be a resource to look into. And we did definitely see we made some great gains.
Definitely, if you could capture that. I know you'll capture that in the minutes, but also email me that program.
Will do.
So I think that kind of concludes those needs. Ms. Lundy, if you email them to me after the meeting, I'll put them directly on the PowerPoint before it's posted to the website. And this concludes the map data discussion.
Okay, thank you for that report and the discussion. We will move on to the information items, which will have the principal's report again from Ms. St. Troy.
So principal's report, we are winding down. The things that we have upcoming are the National Administrative Professionals Day, which is next Wednesday. We will celebrate our secretary and our office clerk. Teacher Appreciation Week, May 1st through the 5th, which is, oh gosh, how did I forget Georgia Milestones testing? Should also be on this slide. It is May 1st through the 12th for our students. I will add that in. Our field day is May the 19th, and the last day of school is May 26th. I think I was focused on that date. But our last day of school is May 26th. But we're really gearing up for milestones. I think our teachers have worked tremendously hard this school year. It has been challenging, and they have risen above in the face of challenges that will probably never be captured in an Education 101 class. And they have taught through that. So right now our kids know what they know. This last week before testing, the real focus is how are we making them feel good? Are they resting? Are they getting to school on time? Are we talking to parents about them going to bed early? We had a parent GMAS prep. We had 2 meetings for parents, and we gave parents tips on how to prepare kids for Georgia milestones, but just making sure that they feel good because they know what they know at this point. We're not drilling anything into them in the last 5 days. We're making them feel good so that they show up and show out on their assessment. And that concludes the principal's report.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we will, does anyone, public comment. So this meeting does allow for public comment. If there are any members of the public present. Oh, you still have additional items. You could go ahead, Ms. St. Joy.
Yes,
With the
sorry.
additional items.
Additional items, excuse me, are the cluster advisory board report. We have a cluster advisory team, myself and Ms. Atkinson sit on. We have really discussed ways to bring the South Atlanta cluster together under the heading of STEM next school year. Because we're all STEM certified schools. We're all working on our STEM certification, and we've talked about possibly having a parent cluster night at South Atlanta next school year where everybody will go, because we all feed into the larger schools. There's also GoTeam elections are taking place. Everybody was emailed a link with opportunities to vote for GoTeam members for next year's team. So everybody got an email for that link, and school staff is sent a link for their school person, and parents are sent a link for the parent. And I think this was the same thing I just said. There will be end of the year surveys for the Go Team and principal feedback for me. And if you haven't completed any required trainings, to do so. And that was the last slide. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. I do apologize. Thank you. And so this meeting does allow for the public comment. So if there are any members of the public present and would like to announce a matter on any previous topics discussed, please identify yourself and proceed in a respectful manner. Do we have any members online from the public? Okay, and do we have any further announcements? Any announcements at this time from any of our Go Team members? Okay, well, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? Any final additional business at this time? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I, Ms. Lundy, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Lundy. May I have a second?
I, Courtney Manning, second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Manning. All in favor, say aye, or you can put the hand icon on the screen.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed at this time or any abstentions? Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 5:30 p.m.